Now's our chance to talk about friendship. I know I say this each week that I'm going to try to keep this a little shorter for you, but this week I really am because we've already analyzed so many different relationships and you have such a great working concept of what we've covered during this course. This wasn't going to be huge for you, but there might be some insights you really enjoy. Plus, you have a project to work on this week, so I want to make this quick for you so you can roll into that and get that excellent grade I know you have worked on this semester. To preview what we're covering today, let's talk about defining friendships, the functions of friendships, friendships across our lifetime, types of friendships, rules we have with friendships, challenges, and then we'll even go a little bit into romance in friendships. Friendship is a voluntary interpersonal relationship characterized by intimacy and liking. Not that kind of intimacy. We're talking about the type of intimacy when we're going back to the social penetration theory where we're sharing, we're becoming vulnerable with that person, and we're sharing innermost self. Perhaps we're going beyond the mask, beyond the face, into that authentic person that we are. Again, friendship is voluntary. A person can't force you to be a friend. It's not like family. You're not stuck in it. If a friendship is working, it stays. If it doesn't, it goes. It is a very voluntary process. It is driven by shared interests. This interest can be at home, or it can be at work, it can be a hobby. There's a number of reasons why we build friendships. Friendships include self-disclosure. Again, it's going beyond those masks and getting to the authentic self and being vulnerable with a person. That's an important part of friendships. Friendships are rooted in liking. We can also still debate if there's some love involved in there, not romantic love, but actually brotherly or sisterly or that kind of love where that person, you do truly love them, but you are friends. It can be volatile. Friendships have their ups and downs like all relationships do. There will be good days and bad days. There are times you really want to be around your friend and other times you'd rather not be around them. So it is a volatile relationship and it is also dynamic because again, we have two people that are growing and sharing and they may grow apart, they may grow together, they may be lifelong friends, they might be friends in a certain situation, but once removed from that situation, the friendship dissolves. Types of friendships or the functions of friendships that we see. There's the communal friendship, sharing time and activities. You know, that might be your escape from the house, the girls' night out, the guys' night out, bowling, something of that variety. Maybe playing a game, going to a sporting event. All these different types of things is a sharing of time and activity. And there's also the agentic friendship where it's an agent. They're a friend at work that's going to help you work your way towards a better job or promotion. Maybe it's a friend at school that helps you with tutoring and helps you get that A in the other classes so that way you can achieve your goals. Or maybe you're working towards a goal together, a work project where you have to come up with a great sales or marketing plan and you work together towards that goal. Friendships change throughout our lives. We all remember our childhood friend. Those were the friends that were there for us when we were trying to discover the world, when we're seeing things in a new way. They give us perspective and they're a voice outside of that family. And because of this, they become very special friends. And we oftentimes will remember them throughout our lifetime, even if in adolescence we go our separate ways. Adolescent friends are more of as we're entering into that puberty thing and they're helping us discover the world. They're our sounding board. They're the ones that we can rely on when we have a deep, dark secret that we want to pass a note to so and so. And oh, what do you think they'll say? Should I give them the note? Should I not? They're the friends that are there during those times. These first two are very much developmental stages for us. And for that reason, those friendships remain particularly close in our hearts and in our memory because they gave us new eyes to the world. And they were there as we're going on our adventures. Speaking of adventures, young adulthood. Now, this is oftentimes where we'll see those younger friends, the adolescent and the childhood friends, where we'll separate from them. We graduate high school. We move out into the world. We start a family. And oftentimes these will be a dividing point within a friendship. You know, it's hard to stay in close contact with your childhood friend when you moved across the country. So the young adult friends are more of as you're starting to establish your self-image and who you want to be. They're helping you shape that, and they might be a bridge from your dependence upon family to independence. So they are also a very important part for us. Our adult friends, they oftentimes can be our escape. They're the ones that we can go to and, you know, gives us, it's not the family, it's not the kids, it's not all the connection, all the responsibility. Our adulthood friends can be an important escape from those responsibilities. And they can also help you compare what you feel is important in life and how they're feeling what's important in life. They can help us gain perspective. As we get older, middle adulthood, these are the friends that we start to turn to that help us, once again, bridge a change in life. It might be as we're moving towards retirement. It might be along those career paths. Perhaps up until now, most of our friends have been in the communal aspect of it, and they're our friends because we just want to hang out. But as we reach middle adulthood, some of it could be they become more of an agent for change in our life and an agent to help us achieve our goals and kind of wrap up that adulthood experience we had. And when we reach elderly, our friends oftentimes are the ones that help us find new purpose in life. They help us discover new things to keep us young and to keep us feeling important in the world as we become elderly. And they are also the ones we might have to depend upon more than we have the other ones. Because up until now, we've been very independent. But as we saw, as we grow older, we start out with very little independence as a child, and then we get more and more. But then as we become elderly, our independence decreases. So our elderly friends are often the ones that we can depend on to help maintain some independence that does not rely on us going to family and saying, hey, I need you to help me get to my doctor's appointment, or things of that variety. Friendships across cultures. These are wonderful. If you get a chance to make a friend that is outside of your culture or gives you a different perspective, this is a wonderful opportunity. As we were talking, with different cultures, the best way to learn about them is have someone teach it to you, have someone share with you. If you have a friend that comes from a different cultural background, this is a great opportunity, because by becoming friends, you've both opened up and you become vulnerable and you became sharing. This means they will introduce new ideas to you. They're willing to guide you clumsily along the cultural path that you may not understand. And they can tell you about the limitations, that if you're going to interact with people of the culture, the limitations that you might face, the do's and the don'ts. So friendships across cultures are very beneficial. Types of friends. There's always the best friend, the BFF. They help us create our identity. In some cases, they're the ones that introduced you to your spouse. In other cases, they're the ones that are there when you're down. But they are part of your identity, and they support who you believe you are. And they're also the ones that can be brutally honest and tell you, hey, you know, you're wearing that mask. Take that off, because I know inside you're a better person than that. So they help keep us moving forward. Again, with cross-sex friendships, you know, this, or could even actually go with cross-gender would probably be a better way to phrase this at this time, because they will help you explore the differences that you may not understand because you have a limited perspective. And so they can explain things to you, and you can better understand and become a more open person and more reflective upon yourself as far as, you know, what you truly feel and how you should express that. Cross-orientation friendships, Like I said, cross-sex, cross-gender, cross-orientation. Those all fall into almost a similar category. Intercultural friendships, as we mentioned, if you get the opportunity, this is great because by learning another culture, when it's from a friend, you're not as defensive. You take down some of that and you're willing to take their perspective on issues that you may not be willing to with a stranger. And this is also true when you have the interethnic friendships, where you can take down your defenses and actually explore and have good conversation. So the types of friendships are all very important for our growth and our ability to take perspective and our ability to see who we truly are with that real mirror that we talked about earlier. This is a great chance. Of course, BFFs, sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. They can change. And remember, that's part of the dynamic process of friendships. Now, these are some of the friendship rules, okay? When you have a bromance, you gotta follow the rules, they say. Well, these are the rules. You have to show support. In other words, don't take a person down when they're down. You lift them up. You help them become the better person that they want to be. They turn to you for support. It's a kind of a two-way road there, in that if you're always giving support to someone, you don't really feel that's a friendship. But when they give you support and you give them support, there's an exchange going on there that helps increase the bond. They respect privacy. You're being vulnerable. You're opening up to them. They're in your inner sphere of influence. So you want them to maintain your privacy and keep things confident. If you share with them, you don't want to see it on Facebook later or Twitter, and you don't want it to come back to you from someone in the office that they're talking about what you've told them in confidence and in privacy. They defend you, even when you're not there. You know that if someone says something about you that is wrong, they will correct them. And if someone comes after you and says bad things about you, they'll defend you. That's important. They avoid public criticism. Once again, if they're criticizing you in public, that tears you down, and that makes you feel friendless. They make you happy. That's one of the important things, is that you enjoy being around them. Because just the same as what we saw with family and we saw with romantic relationships, if you don't enjoy being around them, you're not going to be around them. They manage their jealousy. In other words, especially when we're talking about those transitional ones where you're going from adolescence to young adulthood, if you had a best friend during that time, they might have had a hard time managing their jealousy. Because when you were a 13-year-old, you spent all your time with them. But boy, once you started dating and once you started having romantic relationships, you pulled away from them. Your time now is split and divided. And if that friend is jealous of it and tries to ruin your romantic relationship, that causes trouble within the friendship. Humor. It's great when they share the humor, when you can tell a joke and you don't have to explain it to them. When they get your sarcasm, when they get you, is kind of the thing. Get you, And that helps. And they maintain equity. They're not always coming over and borrowing all your tools and money or your car and everything else. That they're not always there to take from you. They also give. And as we mentioned in romance, this is part of romance. All these things. If you're in a long-term romantic relationship, you also have this friendship relationship under it. Friendship strategies. How you keep a friend? You share activities. You give them time. You make them feel special. You make them feel wanted. You make them enjoy the time they have with you. So you share activities. And you share yourself. You disclose. You let them beyond the mask, the face. You let them see some of that authentic self. So self-disclosure is one of the ways of maintaining friendships. Friendship challenges, betrayal. As we mentioned, they're in that sphere of influence, that inner sphere, and if they betray you, it's hard to maintain that relationship if they violate one of those rules. And as we mentioned, geographic separation. Having been in the military, I know this is true. I'll be stationed, or I was stationed with a person for 2 or 3 years. They became my friend, and then suddenly they're in Korea and I'm in Alaska, or they're in Germany and I'm in Texas. So that separation can make it difficult for friendships to survive. Romance between friends. As we talked about on the discussion boards and in romance, friendship is an important part of it. So there are different levels that they talk about. This first one is more of a modern concept, friends with benefits. I don't think I really need to explain that to you because I think you're all pretty much up on the pop culture. But this is a case of it can be very difficult to manage because the physical connection can easily lead to jealousy and can easily lead to breaking of the other rules where friendships will fade away. Or in other cases that, as we've seen in all those TV shows, oh, they finally kissed, so now they're finally a couple. For the first 3 seasons, they were an argumentative team, but, and they were friends. But now, once they get that physical connection, they actually become a romantic couple. Now, troubles with romance between friends, you may already know this person's faults too well, and you may already be judgmental of them because they've already self-disclosed. So there's no real new exploring. When we're looking at NAP, we're kind of, the discovery phase is kind of gone because you've been friends for 10 years. And you've already shared some experiences. You may have already seen them at their worst. And that might lead into trouble with developing a romance. Perhaps you were their friend when they broke up with their last romantic partner, and you saw how that happened, and now you're like, oh, I'm going to watch for all these telltale signs because I saw it happen. And there are other problems you can come up with. Matter of fact, that would be a good discussion thing to talk about below, is other problems with romance that you see between friends. This is where we get into those statuses that we see on social media. Whenever they say it's complicated, that's what they're talking about here. Because you have friendship and love, and so that can be kind of complicated. This is just another diagram that you can look at and say, oh, well, when I say it's complicated as my social media thing, what I'm really meaning is I'm in love with this person and they're my friend, but we don't have the sex, or we don't have benefits, whatever you want to call it. And so this is kind of the romantic circles that we talked about in romance, and this is where it becomes where you can see how it all overlaps. So this isn't for all friends, this is only for romance between friends. So please don't try to apply it to your standard friendships because that would be confusing. So what we talked about here, in a little under 20 minutes, I'm trying to keep on time here, is we define friendship. We talked about the functions, friendships across life, and how they can be important at different junctures of our life, types of friendships, rules that we have with friendship, challenges, and romance between friends. So go ahead and post whatever you like about friendship below. Perhaps you can talk about how you ended up in a romantic relationship from a friendship, or a friendship you had in elementary school or one you had in high school. Just talk about friends. I'll see you on the discussion boards.